So they'll be calling you a radical. Thank you, Bailey. She dismissed it. I went in there with my semi, says, arrest me, criminal in Ogden. So I want to talk about this. I did this plaster work. It's all cement. Cement base with scratch and finish, 2-coat, La Habra. I did that so many years ago, in the 80s. And so I want to show you something. You know, and by the way, if you've never been in this building, you should just come take a tour here and come in it. Of course, the COVID thing, the protocol, but it's Leslie Hodgson's freaking masterpiece. The jail used to be right up there, and it is the court, I mean, the masterpiece. Across the street, of course, is the 1905 Masonic Temple. Oh, knock on. I mean, so I want to show you something. Blanch's cement, Kevin Blanch plastering in the 80s versus, I believe Western did it in the late 90s, early 2000s. Okay, you tell me. Nice, huh? Really nice, huh? Styrofoam mansions. What a freaking Leslie Hodgson rolling in his grave. They attached this to his masterpiece. By the way, Leslie Hodgson is every bit as important as Frank Lloyd. So do you know, a lot of people don't know this. This is a Leslie Hodgson. You know, his family's involved now. But what about the exchange building out west of Ogden? What? You're just letting that go to hell? I tried to buy it. I've tried to get the cow and the horse and the sheep. I've tried to do a lot of stuff for that, to save these buildings here in my lifetime. 10,000 of them I have saved. All these buildings are vacant, but Leslie Hodgson is the man. He was 21 years old. I got to tell this story, and I'll hammer this till the cows come home. I don't care. This building, people were 2550 Washington Boulevard, homeless were living in it. They've been tried to plaster over 4 or 5 times. It was the most disgusting. They put this fake gray ephes all over it. You should have seen it. Oh, I mean, they were going to tear it down. So I walk in here, where I just came from. She dismissed my ticket, by the way. Thank you, Bailey. Very nice. Very different from who ran it before. Very polite, very nice young woman. So, this building is so grand. Oh my God. It is beyond grand. So, I talked Randy Rich and Bernie Allen to buy it. You cannot tell that down. That's the 1905 Leslie Hodgson. You can see the Masonic symbol. I carved that in. You go to the second floor, the drops. I've been up in there. The giant frescoes are still up in there. They're too stupid. They sold it, made a bunch of money, took the money and run. The Orpheum was right there, but I said, you can't tear it down. You can't tear it down. So they bought it for chump change, for nothing. This is when Matt Godfrey was mayor, who I taught with Matt at Weber State. Don't even get me going on that dude. Of course, I went to school with Caldwell. He was 1,000 times better than Caldwell, and he was horrid. Glenn Meekum, I did plaster work for him. Oh, he went to prison. Savings and loan scandal. The other Meekum mayor before him, Knots and Furniture, I did that. Mayor Dirks, I did work for him on Washington 25th. So I says, so you gotta have permits. The historical society's right here, right where I just came from. So I walked across to get my permits. It's like one time I was doing some work in Idaho, and I says, in Emmett, can you see your breath, literally? Yeah. Oh my God. It's August 19th. Are you kidding me? 2 days ago, it's the middle of the day. It's the middle of the day. It's 11 o'clock. 2 days ago, it was 100. Oh, this is nuts. Which I call smoke. You could taste the smoke in the air, even though it's rained hard. Oh my God. How perfect. So, I walk in here. I remember calling up to Idaho and I says, I gotta have a contractor's license to do work in Emmett, Idaho. And he says, the guy says, you got a pickup truck and a dog? I says, yeah, I do. He says, you're good. So I walk in here, I says, I need my permits. I was the youngest licensed plasterer. 20 over here, 3 buildings down. That really great building's on 26, about there. Sits right back in there. It's got those trees on it. That's a grand building. Leslie Hodgson. The board of contractors used to be in there. You had to be approved by 3 different people in the trade. If I ever Don Hall, he was the master. And he's like, Kevin Blanch, you're the greatest young plasterer I've ever seen. I started in the sand pits in Brigham City at 15. My grandpa, Abraham Laker, the adobe and tile. He says, you're the best I've ever seen. You've got to stay in this trade. I'm out of here. I'm staying in this trade. You know, I'm going to be a marine biologist. You know, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to college. I'm an artist. No, you've got to stay. I'd like to kick him, but so all 3 of those guys got together and they petitioned the state of Utah to get Kevin Blanch licensed. I was young, 23. You have to have 6 years apprenticeship, which I already had. They signed off. You used to have to do a business test and a skill test in that building. I passed it. First license, youngest licensed plasterer in the history of the state. Now they just completely deregulate, but you have to have permits. Don Hall. What a master. What a fucking master that dude was. A lot of master. Okay, so I walk in there, I said, what permits do I need for the 1905 Leslie Hodgson Masonic Temple, probably the most historic building in the Western United States besides the Salt Lake Temple? What are you talking about, man? Is it on the historic list? We don't even know what it is, Kevin. You don't know what it is? I'm a butcher, what's a cow? I'm a baker, what's a cake? I'm a Weber State alumnus basketball player. Who's Kevin Blanch? Who's Paul McKay Brody? I'm unbelievable. Who's Bernard DeVoto? Who's Paul McKay Brody? I'm Damian Lillard, my gold medal. Who's Watt? The first player color in the history of the NBA, born and raised right there. A tornado hit my house when I was a little boy in West Weber on this date. Well, it was the 20th, actually, of August, 1968. For real, it was bad. Wiped out. And my aunt and uncle was killed in a car wreck 2 days later. So I hung from a rope 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, and hand chiseled it. Mixed up granted, it ain't perfect. They paid me in cash. And then Bernie and Randy promised to put a plaque up there. Of course they didn't. And then they sold it and ran to Salt Lake. By the way, that's what blew up the Defender's office. D. Smith, last time I talked to D, besides when he ran for the thing, was right there. He was Randy and Bernie's junior partner when Matthew Stewart, which started Black Lives Matter. I'm going to get Damien to sign my Black Lives Matter hat. It was started by Kevin Blanch. Called the Million Mass. Last time I talked to Matthew Stewart's mom and dad was right here. I started what turned out to be Black Lives Matter. It was called the Million Mass March. I started at Weber State. So D. Smith, the no-knock warrant on Matthew Stewart. When Jared, I knew Jared really good. He was the nicest dude ever. The cop that was killed by another cop, peace officer. I know Dub, who made peace officer. He was the nicest dude ever. He was killed, cop, and then Matthew Stewart was hung in a jail cell for a marijuana plant. That happened on January 5th, 2012. I was in the bone marrow transplant, but that's helped me. So D is dead now, Smith. That's what broke up the Defender's office. The Defender's office, public Defender's office, was completely blown to smithereens because of that case. That incident that happened January 5th, let's walk over to the tombstone. By the way, I like Jared a lot, the cop. I really liked him when he was a young guy. I coached youth athletics in this town forever and ever and ever. He was a very clumsy, awkward kid. Very nice dude. I know his mom and fantastic people. The good cop. He was the good guy. Good cop versus bad cop. You know, and so he was killed. Peace officer goes in, Dub goes into it. He was killed by a cop's bullet. Matthew was asleep. He was a war veteran coming up on 9/11, you know, and so, important video, really important. And so Matthew was hung in a jail cell. Did he hang himself or they hung him? Well, either one, you know. You throw a guy in there for having his He was self-medicating. Like his mom says. His mom says he was killed for something that's legal now. His ex-wife called the cops on him, said that he was going to a marijuana plant. And they no-knocked with plain clothes. Randy Richards was his attorney. I'm really close friends with Randy. I'm the one that talked him into doing that. And so, Randy says, look at this, Kev, when I was come in, sucked up to nothing. That's the other one that was killed by a, that should have never happened anyway. That was a nightmare. That punk shot him. Where is Jared? Yeah. And so Matthew dead, 2 people dead for what? A marijuana plant? So Randy says people used to just come in and bring cash. Left, right, you know, should meet Breonna Taylor on Balco. That's what started the Million Mass March, and that was January 5th, 2012. I was in the bone marrow, and then, of course, the death of Danielle Willey. Danielle Willey shot in the face in broad daylight. Even the police come out in the review board and says it was not a justifiable shooting. They wanted a piece of him. Even the cops did. The judges in this town should be ashamed. Well, in the state. The review board says, nope, I know Danielle's mom. That's what started Black Lives Matter. Kevin Blanch started at Weber State University. Play back the tape, Your Honor. The Million Mass March, we had 7 million people in 2013. 7 million, that's all. And I led that identical march to the Capitol, just like the Trumpers did. They didn't let us in. They had rows of riot gear, 2 rows deep. Play back the tape, Your Honor. Tanks, horses, tear gas. I was full of cancer. Of course, when they put this monument up, I don't think there's ever been a fireman lost. I'm all for the, by the way, Reagan stole that quote from Hamilton. So, it's a cool piece, but it doesn't belong here. You know, it'll be 200 years. John Weber, Jedediah Smith, Jim Bridger. This is called Brownsville. Brownsville was a crook. He was with my grandpa Abraham Hunsaker IV when they marched to the border to fight the Mormon Battalion. But my grandpa went to San Diego, and then those sand pits in Brigham City that I was just talking about. That's who found the gold at Suitors. I don't think Ogden's ever lost a fireman. I'm for this monument, but it doesn't belong here. How's it going? It doesn't belong here. In this hollow, it's like there needs to be a statue. Captain Brown, important. He's a crook. Lauren Farr, oh yeah, when they killed Chief Cherokee. By the way, you guys can talk all your shit you want. The little soldier is buried in the Ogden Cemetery. No, he's not. He's buried in the West Weaver Cemetery. And so they smoked the peace pipe. Stewart murdered Chief Cherokee. There's a monument here, so my grandma's the one that got that monument. Daughters of Utah Pioneers. So they were going to name this. It was named Brownsville. Brown was selling deeds when he knew they were the Spanish kings. They were going to name this, it'll be 200 years. Jim Bridger, Jedediah Smith. They didn't want Jedediah Smith because of confusion with Joseph Smith. By the way, that was Joseph Smith Street right there. Grant was Joseph Smith Street. And Jefferson, which I think is irony because Paul McKay Brody wrote Jefferson's biography, who's from here. There needs to be a statue of Paul McKay Brody and Bernard DeVoto right there. And Watt, the first player color in the history of the NBA, lived right there. Grew up right, 2 national championships right there at the Weber State Gym, which is the Deseret Gym, who's been vacant for 25 years. I just had this conversation in there about the vacant historic buildings. Maybe a statue of Mariner Eccles there. John Browning, I'm all for that. They were going to name it Bridger. Wyoming's like, name's Monument on Balco. So why isn't it named Goodyear, Miles? Pierce Ogden never set foot here. He was a mass murderer. He was a Shoshone killer from hell. So, anyway, there's your dissertation. Leslie Hodgson. If you've never been in that building, when they remodeled in 2001-2, we got this giant wind, and there was this big crane. I think the Standard has it in their archives, and the wind blew the crane over the top of the building and broke the crane. It looked like King Kong, boy. God, I wish I'd had a YouTube camera then. So, it's his masterpiece. That is his. So, I went to West Weber Elementary. Frank Lloyd Wright, Prairie Style, that Frank Lloyd Wright let Leslie Hodgson use. The only one in the world. The only one in the world. I was in the bone marrow transplant. I negotiated a deal that we took big facade up and brick by brick could build it. They violated their own law. Didn't do it. I went through there with cancer. Me and Julie Penman and Clay Penman and dug through the bricks, found enough for a mailbox is all they got. They tore it down illegally. They never got away with rising the bone marrow transplant, LDS. 2012, 2011. Don't get hit. By the way, this is young Eisenhower. I've been talking to him a lot. He's multi-generation. It's a masterpiece. I did that plaster work. Did 10,000 of them. What a masterpiece. He's local. He's local. You know, I know Don and Torres who did the one across there. I got to be friends with them. In fact, Torres himself invited me to the party. Go ask him. He invited Kevin Blanch to the party. They're from Puerto Rico and they're world famous. 175,000 and they're masters. They know nothing about Ogden. They painted a tan Joe McQueen. They painted parrots and utes because they're listening to these panty painter near beer artists council in Ogden. They're a bunch of near beer fools. Panty painter near beer freaking old worn out Astroturf. They brought in Flaming Lips to do a installation. He's got balloons. It's the most disgusting worn out Astroturf from Los Angeles. When you got all these master artists at your feet, right here, born and raised in Ogden. Ask Fawn McKay Brody. Ask Bernard DeVoto. So at 10,000, all cement. I would never switch to the fake shit. I refuse. So they blackballed me. Same at Weber State. I'm Damian Lillard. How did he get his gold medal? Rudy Gobert missed 11 free throws. Damian Lillard's never missed 2 free throws in his life. I talked to Joe about this yesterday, Bass. He's up there right now. I'm going to sign my hat. I did the play-by-play when he played here. Oh, he was good. All-time leading free throw shooter in the history of the school. Gil, the other second one, who was probably point shaving after they fired freaking the great coach of Bagram. He missed 2 free throws at the end. Why? FUKUSHIMA. I said, when you figure the last time he missed 2 free throws in a row? And he says, maybe junior high. I said, I'm thinking maybe 3rd grade. COVID-19. Black Lives Matter was started here in Ogden, Utah by Kevin B. Blanch. It was called the Million Mass March. Me and John Anthony, who's in Boston, started it together. The Post-Ignorance Project. On the no-knock warrant murder of Matthew Stewart in 2012. Play back your tape, Your Honor. We had 7 million. See any media coverage of that? We weren't selling Black Lives Matter on. Right there on Black Lives Matter Avenue at the Peace Vigil, right there where I've been for 40 years. What a masterpiece, young Eisenhower. I know his dad really well. I know his uncles. I know his whole family, his grandpa. Stand tuned.